Hey, good morning. This is Russell Smith with Computer Science 2100, and I'm going to be doing problem set two, problem two. All right, so this problem is to find the smallest, or the amount that you would need to pay each month to pay off a balance of $5,000 in 1 year if the interest rate is 18%. And you can only do increments of payments of 10, so that if it returns a value less than zero, it's okay. But we'll get in that in a minute. So we're gonna have to do this in a function. So I'm gonna have to define a function. So calculate, I'll call it payment. And we're gonna use two variables inside the function, balance and annual interest rate. Real quick, I'm gonna pause. I'm not gonna pause the video, but when I was reviewing my code for problems one, I realized I spelled interest wrong in one of the variables, but I continued to spell interest wrong in the variable, so it ended up working. So just unofficially apologize for that. It still worked though. Okay, so we're going to need a couple of variables declared inside of this function. First one is monthly interest rate. Monthly interest rate, since annual interest rate is 18%. Since the interest rate is compounded monthly, it's going to divide the annual interest rate by 12, and that's already populated there, so I'm just going to let it do its thing. And since we're doing, when we're looping through, because in a minute I'm going to make a loop, and what that loop is going to do is it's going to increase the monthly payment by 10 each time through the loop until it adds up to enough that it pays it off in 1 year. So we're going to need to go ahead and declare that monthly payment so that we can increase it by that amount each time through the loop. And that's what that is there. And then we need to go ahead and declare an original balance, which in our case is going to be 5,000. I'm going to declare that later. I could have done it before, but I'm just going to declare those later. The interest rate, once you see above, it hadn't been declared yet, but it will be at the end of the function when we're done with the function, and then also the original balance will be as well. Okay, I'm gonna start my loop. We'll pull in the balance that we're going to use in this. It's just going to be whatever you declare as the original balance later on for the first loop through. Okay. So the first time through, or the first thing we need to do is tell it that it's going to loop through 12 times because there's 12 months in here. All right, so just like we did on the last, in problem one, oops, we have to do a few things here. So what that does there, right now our balance is the first time through the loop, the balance is going to be 5,000. Each time that's going to go down. We need to subtract the $10 from it, and it's going to do that 12 times. What I'm doing here is set the balance to the monthly unpaid balance, which is the first time through would be, $10 minus whatever the balance was. And then we need to add the monthly interest rate through that. Am I spelling interest wrong again? No. Okay, so in that line, like I said, the balance will now be whatever the monthly unpaid was from last time, which is the first time through would just be 10, and every time through is going to subtract 10 for this iteration of the loop until we add 10 to the balance, monthly payment, sorry, and then continue to do that over and over and over again until it equals zero at the end of it or less than zero. But each month, the monthly interest rate occurs, so we need to add that to the monthly balance. And then we can check. If balance ended up being at the end of those 12 times through less than or equal to zero, we can break, because that's what we want to find, is an amount of monthly payment that'll make the overall balance at the end of it less than or equal to zero. If it doesn't do that, which it won't on the first loop through, it's going to keep going over and over and over again until we get to a certain value. But since it's not going to happen on the first try, and we know that, and we're going to increase it by 10 each time, we need to increase the monthly payment by 10. And then what's that going to do is, so since we know the first month, 10 times 12 is nowhere near enough to pay off a $5,000 balance. It's going to keep doing this over and over and over again, add in 10 to the monthly payment value each time until it gets to a point where that value of monthly payment that has occurred over each iteration of the loop becomes great enough so that it'll pay off the $5,000 balance in 12 months. But if it ends up being, once we get to the point where the loop works and it pays off the balance in those 12 months, we're going to return that monthly payment. And that's what we're going to use later on. So now I'm going to, these are variables that you can change and it'll work each time. But for the problem that you want us to do, it's going to be a balance of 5,000, an annual interest rate of, and it auto-populated. I don't want to use that bottom one though. It might have been right, but I didn't look at it. Okay, so once it returns the monthly payment that satisfies the loop, meaning that it is, the balance ends up being less than or equal to zero, we can go and print what that balance is. So lowest payment got ahead of myself. I need to define what the lowest payment is. It's what we return in that function above. I think that auto-populated correctly. Yeah. So now we can print lowest payment. Change that to a string. Let's see. Oh, I spelled it wrong again. Sorry, I'm a horrible speller. And there we go. So that's 2 problems in a row. I spelled interest wrong. I need to learn how to spell interest, but now that we spelled interest right up here, what the error was, it was saying that it didn't know what this was because I spelled it wrong up here. But luckily I know I'm a good speller. I mean, a horrible speller, so that's what I looked at, and it was that way. So now what this function does, or what the code does, is it uses this function to iterate through 12 times over and over and over again, each time increasing the monthly payment by 10 right here until it loops through 12 times, and the value here is high enough that in those 12 times it pays off the balance, which we're using 5,000 as the balance. You can change these to whatever you want, but we're just using 5,000 because that's what the problem asks us to do. And then the annual interest rate, again, you can change that to whatever you want, and it'll use those in this function here to determine what you should use as a minimum payment each month to pay off a balance of a credit card in 12 months. So this is Russell Smith again with Computer Science 2100. Thanks for watching me code.